Okay, guys, listen, it was Amsterdam a few years ago, which I'll mention, about 100 people. It was Milan a couple of months after that or whatever. But last February, we were in Stockholm. And you had the album finished, and it was looking good. Things were always looking good. Had you any idea what was about to be unleashed with the success of the album 1 month later, March 29? Or did you kind of say, yeah, I expected that?
Not at all. Not at all. I had the week before the album came out, I kind of kept it to myself for a while, and then after a while I was like, Finneas, I'm really scared. And I came up to him, I was like, I don't, because I had no clue. I was like, I have no idea if people are going to like this, if they're going to hate it, if I'm going to like it after it's out, if I'm going to hate it. And I was actually really worried about it, and the day before it came out, I remember saying I didn't want to put it out because I did like it and I didn't want to ruin it. I was like, I'm not trying to ruin this album.
I remember the thought that I had before the album came out was that up until the album's release, I felt that pretty much the only people who had listened to our music were people who wanted to listen to our music, and I felt that the album was going to come out with enough press behind it that I was worried that people who were predisposed negatively toward, that would listen to it to not like it, kind of a thing, were going to hear it, and so that flipped me out, because I think ultimately you kind of just want to make music for people that want you to make music, not for haters. But
sure,
it's great that people have liked it. It's really awesome.
Isn't it brilliant that the two of you can do it in the exact way you want to do it without having to kowtow to anybody in the industry at all? It's kind of, you become a different idea of what a pop star can be. In other words, entirely you've conquered the world of music by doing everything you're not supposed to do, but doing everything you want to do. You're yourself.
I guess. I mean, we didn't try to be. I think that's why it worked. We were never like, let's do all the things that people don't want us to do.
Let's do everything wrong.
Yeah, we and it's funny, I was saying this in an interview a while ago, that there's kind of this title on my name that's kind of the artist, the anti-pop, or the anti-blank, or she's breaking all the rules, da, da, da. I'm like, when? When was I doing that? I don't remember saying to somebody oh, I'm not gonna do that normal, It's I wanted to make what I wanted to make, and that was it, period.
The other funny thing about it is that because we did all this stuff, in a very small and intimate way, making the album just the two of us in a bedroom, essentially, I had this hope that it would, if it was a success, which it has been, that it would make people feel more willing to put more faith in artists and really let artists just execute their own visions and not over A&R projects.
As opposed to the business taking control.
Right, I hoped that they would use us as an example of why that was allowed. And instead they've just decided that we're an anomaly. And that sucks.
But look, hold on, in terms of actually just making the music, I mean, you've gone off to your own house, but the room is still there. The room is still there where you make your music, or where you have made your music in the past, right? I mean, you have a chart on the wall where you used to show how high you were getting, and you write there about progress. You sit in the bed and you do whatever. So, I mean, it's all very important that that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I think it was very vital to what we needed to do. I think it was it would not have worked if we were, being forced to work with a bunch of other producers and other songwriters, and it literally wouldn't work. It wouldn't have worked at all. Or
even farther away from each other. I felt like we were just always coming in and bothering each other and making music.
Yeah, and even though Finneas, he has a house now, and we don't really necessarily use that room anymore. It's still there, and it doesn't mean we can't work together in this new house, or on the road or whatever. But for that time, it was exactly what we needed to do.
I'm also 99% sure that I'll probably move back in with Billie in the couple weeks of really working on the next record. I'm sure whenever we knuckle down and finish that record, we'll just be working such long hours we'll have to be sleeping.
That's what I want to talk
place.
about, because last weekend, you took over Leeds, you took over wherever other festivals you were doing in England. It was Moscow, it was St. Petersburg, it's coming up to Milan, it's coming up to whatever else, Barcelona, and then there's a bunch of dates in America, from Las Vegas to Tulsa, etc., and it's all completely mad. You're not going to stay on the road. You do have to give yourself time off to get a second album together.
Do we? Is that...
Well, I think you do. So
Dave says we have to take time off.
Do you write on the road? Did the two of you write on the road?
He has been writing on the road because he has to put out a new EP. And I've just been like being like, you know what, go do that. He's like, do you want to watch Harry Potter on the plane? And I'm like, do your work. Finish your shit.
We have been able to work on the road. Usually it's
we did like Wish We're Gay on the road and stuff.
And we did Bury a Friend on tour. I think, you know, ultimately our touring situation is posh enough that you know, we have like studio setups in our green rooms, and so there's a lot of availability to make music. It just depends on how inspired you feel. Sometimes when you have a show day and, you know, you're doing your meet and greet, you know, in Billie's case, you're doing your press, you're signing a million posters. Sometimes you like don't want to write a song that day. So, you know, sometimes it can work.
Off time, it's like I don't want to be writing music on the off time that I have from music, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's tricky. But you know, we have like a day in Berlin at the end of this, like next week we have a day. I think a week from today, actually. And like we have a studio booked for that because we want to, you know.
Okay, but this business of having a better time on the road or making you a bit more comfortable on the road or whatever. I mean, like when I saw you back in 2017 in Amsterdam, the Fanning family were 1/20th of the audience.
The Fanning family was a bigger crew than we were touring with at the time.
True,
you had more family members there than we had crew members.
Okay, but then it was whatever it was Milan a few months later, and the same kind of story. So like, and then there was Stockholm, which was getting a lot bigger. Now all of that thing right now, before a tour, Billy, do you feel, oh, I don't want to do this? But once you're on but once you're on the tour, it's cool. It's thinking about it beforehand. It's too big,
the
too
thinking
much.
about it is like the most tormenting and torturous thing ever. I think this European tour actually was like the only one that I didn't dread. Finneas might have dreaded it, but Finneas has a girlfriend, so I get that. But no, I've kind of like it kind of sabotaged me for a while because like I had these amazing tours planned and these amazing shows planned, and I was like, fuck that, I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to go. And then I just kept going, you know, and being fine when I'm there. But yeah,
You agree to them, and when you agree to them, it seems like a good idea. And that's like 6 months away. You're like, well, okay, 6 months from now.
And then 6 months comes up and you go,
really fast.
Wow.
6 months hits you really quickly.
Course,
and then it sort of doesn't stop. So we are conscious of it, and I think the main thing is we want to make sure that we really appreciate it and value it the entire time we're doing it. So the way we're approaching 2020 is we're doing a lot of regions and a lot of territories. We're just doing shorter runs.
Yeah.
This year I feel like we've done like several 5-week runs. We do shows, you know, like each weekend. It's easy to get fatigued, and so next year we're doing these like 3-week, just like 21 days out, and then we come home for like a month, and then maybe another 3 weeks. And I think that's going to be much more like easy to sustain and to enjoy while we're doing it. And then like my hope is that we won't get sick of it, you know.
Okay, get sick of it, but I mean, what's happened in the last 3 or 4 months is just quite astonishing. So
totally.
The fame thing is one thing. The attention thing that you might have often wanted in your life, you don't necessarily want the fame thing, do you?
I do.
Yeah?
I love fame. I didn't for a while. There was a period where I was fully miserable and did not want it and was mad that I had it and wish I could change it, and I couldn't, and the fact that I couldn't was like, I was in a really bad place for a while. Like, if I'm honest with you, just wasn't in a good place, and I wasn't happy, and I didn't think any of this was fun, and I didn't like making music at the time, and I was like, I don't want to make music, I don't enjoy it, I don't even like, and it was like, so it's crazy to think about that, because it was genuinely that, like, I was genuinely like, I don't like this, I don't want to do it, and I don't know what happened. I think it just kind of, I stopped being overworked, and I started playing venues where I felt safer, and where there was, you know, now we have a way bigger crew, and like we're not doing all of it on our own, and it's all really stressful, and we're staying in nicer hotels, and like we have nicer buses, and we have better food, and like all these little things.
We're sleeping more too.
We're sleeping more, and like we have all these little things that have just like improved.
The show itself too is now like almost 100% like just songs we can't wait to play every day.
Yeah,
and
that's so true.
You know, that was like when we put the EP out, we really liked the EP, especially like to me, I loved I Don't Want to Be You Anymore. We both loved Copycat. And, you know, the issue was that we were doing headlining shows off of like a 8-song EP. So we were playing every song we'd ever put out, which just means in our case that there were like a lot of ballads. There were a lot of slow sad songs.
Because we'd never done shows. We didn't know what it was like, so we didn't make songs that we were going to perform like and have fun to.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
But when we made the album...
But about Fame, though, I love Fame. Fame is... There are very, very, very shitty aspects to Fame. Horrible
threats,
that I wish...
Security threats and
yeah,
stuff.
security
Terrible.
threats. I might fucking die. I don't know. Who knows? But I like it a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
Being
there's such a
famous
level
is
of
fire.
fame that you can bring Zoe and your friends on the road, right?
Yeah, I can bring Zoe and my friends on the road.
And that's a big difference.
Yeah, it made a big difference on that tour. I think this tour, like, I didn't bring anybody, but I think, like, our crew is just filled with people that I just, like, genuinely like, and that's really, really important.
Yeah, our guitar tech Trevor is hilarious and wonderful.
Yeah, fucking love
Our monitor tech Salim is great. We have Laura Ramsey, our day-to-day is really fun.
The
She's
funny
here.
thing is, like, if people talk about role models and things, which you don't have to be and you don't have to do or whatever, but like when you talk about being not in a good place between the ages of 13 and 16 maybe, when you were starting off being very famous, and when you like were doing probably Glee at the time and helping her as well, but when all that was happening, you were not a happy person. You must think, God, do I have a responsibility here? Or do you ever think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's fucking hard to like deal with. It's really hard to maneuver this, you know, and like I struggled with it for 3 years, like, and only I want to say like 2 or 3 months ago I started to enjoy it and like started to see how good it was. And the thing is, it's not just because of my mental, like, that I was so miserable. We were really being overworked. We didn't have a good schedule. Like, we didn't have enough off time planned. We had too many, like, all these things were just like not good for my brain. And on top of that, I was depressed. And
I would also say that, like, from 13 to 16 in my life, I was not famous whatsoever and not overworked at all, and I was still pretty miserable and anxious the whole time. I think 13 to 16 is a kind of a rough age. It's pretty tough to just like be going through that hormonal place, and you know.
I was dealing with being 13 to 16 and had Fame on my back, like. Jeez.
Okay, but hold on. Explain something like. Hold on. You have to make a thing. Okay, you're doing your dance. The dance teacher says, "Give me some music." You give her a song. You give him. Or is it a him or a her? I don't know.
Him.
Okay, it's a him. So you give
Name's
him
Fred.
this song, and you put it up on SoundCloud rather than deliver it into his letterbox, or whatever. Suddenly, 1,000 people hear it. Now you're walking home knowing that 1,000 people have heard it.
She's in Starbucks.
How good a feeling was that? Did you feel great that day?
It was crazy. That was like the most beautiful moment. He called me, and I was at Starbucks. Like, in like an hour break that I had between a couple classes and another couple classes, and I was sitting in Starbucks with I was drinking like some stupid hibiscus, whatever the fuck, and
a very berry hibiscus,
yeah,
right?
very or strawberry or whatever.
You're drinking a pinkety drinkety.
And Finneas called me, and he was like, "Dude, Ocean Eyes got 1,000 plays.
Can you believe it?
Can you believe it?" And I actually couldn't believe it, and I looked at SoundCloud, and it said like 1,032 or something, and I like jumped around.
It was really fast. We didn't know 1,000 people at the time.
No, it was so
I'm pretty
cool.
sure the effect of that was the same as the 3 billion now.
Honestly,
yeah,
100%. It was.
No, the best part,
the same feeling.
I genuinely feel bad for people that really have like a viral sensation overnight, because it makes you so nut. Like if we'd woken up and we'd had 10 million views, we for the whole rest of our career it would have been like we would have been referencing that incredible number, and
same
instead,
with venues.
Totally. Instead, it was so gradual that like we had 1,000 and we were like, oh my god, that's amazing. And then I remember it was amazing when we got to 10,000, and we were like, wow, I can't believe we got to 10,000. And then 20,000 was crazy. And then I remember we got to 100,000, and it was like I couldn't even believe it had 100,000. Yeah. And it's just, you know, it's just great because that's how you should live your life. You should appreciate, you know, the gradual growth.
But isn't this one of the things about it all? Like, you never really, as opposed to a lot of people, went looking for it. You never did X Factor this or sort of America's Got Talent that or or Nickelodeon the other thing too. It was all kind of, I hate to use it, but I use it, organic.
And even in, even in signing, you know, our manager Danny has been our same manager since. I was talking to him about a band I was in high school called the Slightlies, and he was very kind and respectful to me about my band. And then, you know, we needed so much help right away because labels started approaching us, and he was very respectful and helpful. But, you know, his value system is aligned with our value system, and Billie ultimately signed with a label that we felt would give her creative control of her career, and was excited about the vision and wasn't trying to turn Billie into something that she wasn't. It was trying to show the world who Billie was.
We met with a lot of labels and booking agents and stuff, and it was not like an impulsive thing at all. It took a long time, and like it was a lot of meetings.
But you also met with a lot of producers. You made Ocean Eyes because you know the whole thing. You're better off doing the bedroom thing in terms of making music. All of those things.
We met with a lot of producers who I have a lot of respect and admiration for, and Billie and I are both huge fans of music, and so a lot of the time we were meeting with people who had made things that we were genuine fans of for years prior. I just feel that when you're trying to make something unique, sometimes you have to do that alone instead of work with someone who's made something that you already love. I think to be truly unique, you kind of have to branch out on your own,
And what about the whole idea, of the way it all builds up, and in terms of Instagram, this and blah, blah, that? You're careful on social media. Use it as a marketing tool, if you like, for not a show-off lifestyle kind of thing. Is that a conscious thing?
I think people just... I've made huge mistakes about social media. I've said too much.
In the past? In
the past, yeah. I've said too much. I've said the wrong thing. I've, been the little emotional teenager that I was, and it's funny because it's I grew up with the internet, and the internet was where you posted
your feelings
or the things you thought were cool or whatever, and then it was weird because it was the same thing, but now thousands of people were looking at it, and so then I was suddenly getting dragged for something I said about they're this is mean. And
whatever kind of thing Billie was saying is we still follow all of our friends that we grew up with that have 100 followers, whatever. They're saying all the same stuff.
It's not
it's not
horrible.
racist.
It's not racist shit. And
it's just emotional. It's you
it's just
casually go ugh, I want to die,
no,
and people flip
this
out.
is so fucked up.
But anytime you've ever mentioned anything in terms of self-harm or depression or synesthesia, by the way, you're orange. You're an orange.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, right. A triangle or mild Tourette's and all these kind of things. You realise they are important and they really talk to people.
I do realize.
Yeah.
And I didn't. Oh nah, hell no.
There's wasps.
Fuck that. No, I didn't say them to do that.
No.
But I realize it now.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's funny because the only reason I open up about Tourette's and having Tourette's is because the fans who I love and who are so precious and so sweet to me and so funny, made they were funny. It was these compilation videos of me ticking, and they didn't know that it was Tourette's. They just were oh look, Billie making funny faces, and they post, and it was all over the internet, and I was I'm gonna tell them because I feel they'd want to know, because I wouldn't want to be making fun of somebody's thing that they
Asperger's,
their issue that they can't actually change, and then it turns out to be an issue, when I just thought it was them being whatever.
What about the amount of things your parents have done to help you down through the years, and not least horses? The horses situation. Have you ridden Jackie O? Have you bought Jackie O?
Jackie O. Oh my God. No, I have not. She's a school horse, so she's owned by the stable, and she was this horse that I grew up working at this stable and had zero money at all, so it was the only way I could pay for riding lessons and whatever, and she was a horse that I rode a couple of times in lessons, and I just thought she was so pretty and she was so sweet, and I was 12, and I just had this connection with her, my little horse girl 12-year-old self, and then I quit because of a lot of reasons. No one was taking me seriously. No matter what you do, if you are poor, you can't
Of course.
There's nothing you can do, and I couldn't take it. I literally couldn't take it.
The equine world is a very affluent community.
Yeah,
a lot of rich people.
Yeah.
But that horse is owned by someone else that loves her, and I know people that ride her. It's she's not my horse.
And just in terms of the fashion side of all of it, again, it's entirely you. You do what you want to do. One of the big things of all was that maybe you used to look in a mirror and didn't like the look of yourself or whatever, and you say all of these things. But now it means that there's nobody going to judge anything of who you are except that you wear these sort of kind of outre clothes as opposed to say Rihanna's or any of these people. Is that it? It's just, you just are who you are.
I am who I am, but everyone's still got something to say. No matter what I do, everyone's going to say something about it, which is weird.
They are, but it's usually pretty good. Listen, one thing I have to say, sorry, I do want to go back to the age of 7 about one thing, because you did an audition for something. Did you really sing "Happiness is a Warm Gun"?
I did.
By the what? Really?
Great song.
That's a brilliant song, but I'm just saying,
what? What was it? It was like a talent show. It's like, what? How? I don't remember. I was like 6 or 7.
Homeschooled talent show.
It was a homeschooled talent show, and I sang "Happiness is a Warm Gun." The whole version. Like, I don't know why they let me sing the whole version. It's so...
Patrick, our dad, was her accompanist on piano.
He
sang the backing vocal, "Bang Bang Shoot Shoots."
He did.
Yeah, oh really? Oh yeah, right, yeah, exactly.
He sang all those, pretty good.
Okay, but look, finally, I mean, obviously this tour is going on. There's always dates now. Seriously, is there anything mentioned about a next album? Right
if
on
we
the road?
say anything,
yeah, I know,
there's going to be like, Billie Eilish is working on her next album.
Yeah,
It's coming out
true.
soon.
Yeah.
I literally already saw that. I was like,
Right.
I didn't even say that.
All I will say on that behalf is that we don't want there to be a long period between albums.
No.
I don't like it when people take 4 years
Right.
between their first and
Yeah.
second record. We want to keep feeding people. We just want to make
Although
sure
it
that
worked for Frank Ocean, though.
it did. Blonde is amazing, but we want to put out stuff we're really proud of, and as soon as we have stuff ready to put out that we're really proud of, it'll come out for sure.
Okay, well, Finneas, thank you so much indeed, and Billy, thank you so much as well. It's been a real pleasure. Enjoy the road. If you don't,
I will.
you're a bit silly. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you very much. Thank you.